I have to say, I absolutely love my clients, and I love that I have clients who have different ideologies when it comes to politics as well. And I have those who are willing to actually sit here and have a conversation, as opposed to just thinking because we do differ politically that I'm wrong or you're wrong and I hate you or you hate me, et cetera, which is just stupid. But I will always tell people if you do come through and you want to espouse your political views, make sure that they are rooted in actual fact. Because I've had the same conversation twice now in as many days. And as you saw by the debate between Harris and Trump, that a lot of people still are talking about January the 6th. So, of course, this particular client was, well, he got those officers killed at the Capitol and he tried to overthrow the government, like literally inciting an insurrection. And then he didn't even try to help. To which I had to explain to him, I'm sorry, you got manipulated by the media. Again, you should have learned your lesson the first time with Charlottesville, but no. So I'm going to make this video as a reference for everybody else who wants to talk about January the 6th. So anytime you bring it up, I'm going to reference you back, like I said, to this. First things first, no. No officers were killed by any injury that they sustained January the 6th. And everybody always wants to reference Brian Sicknick. He actually died of a stroke, not due to any injuries that he sustained. First, they said he was bear sprayed, false. Then they said he was hit by a fire extinguisher, false. The man had a stroke. Now, you can say that that was induced by the stress of that day, but that's not going to fly either. There were also 4 officers who ended up dying days, weeks, and months later, not by any injuries that they sustained, but because of suicide. Now, there was some controversial issues with their suicide, but this isn't the place for that. So I reiterate, no, no officers actually died from any injuries or anything else sustained during January the 6th. Now, there has been many investigations into the events leading up to January the 6th. Nancy Pelosi was supposed to be in charge of the security. Then they say she's not, but she actually is. They say Trump never requested military presence. Then you find out later, yes, he did. Then they go on to try to blame the National Guard, saying that their response time was slow. The National Guard shot back, like, no, you told us no, not to come. So there was a 3-hour lag from 2 p.m. to a little bit after 5. Now, Glenn Beck just interviewed Representative Loudermilk, who is also in charge of the investigation into the events of January 6th. And I suggest you guys go watch the full video so you can get a better idea of everything that happened. But I am going to play this short clip for you guys. So check this out.
You can't say, well, this is what he intended. No, what he said as the commander in chief is keep the Capitol safe. Now, if he would have said, you know what, go in and tell Congress they are good. No, Mr. President, that's unconstitutional. I will not give that order. And if he got on TV and said, you know, I'm telling them now to go in, the American people would not have been with him. They wouldn't have been with him.
Right. No, not at all. But there's so many angles to this here. One is, how did the DODIG, out of all this exact same evidence that we're looking at, how did they come up with a report that it was the National Guard that was the problem? I'm still getting my head wrapped around this. There is no way you can come up with that conclusion unless you're just trying to cover for people who did things they shouldn't do. Senior officers, senior civilians within the Department of Defense. And so we're asking of the Department of Defense IG, how can this be and when are you going to correct this? Of course, their response is we don't see any need to correct it. But we have now made all this public. People can make this decision for themselves. I've said from the beginning, I'm coming to this from an unbiased opinion. We're going to just get the facts out there and let the facts speak for themselves. And there's another angle to this that's a problem. There are senior executive level folks in the DOD that testified one thing to the Department of Defense IG, but testified differently to the Select Committee on January 6th.
They shall go to jail. They're under oath.
And so this is something that we're starting to look at now, doing a side-by-side comparison. That there's changed? Did they have a better understanding? Or was it that they were confident that the their testimonies to DODIG would never make it outside of DIG?
Unbelievable.
So it's just more layers of the story, the corruption, and the cover-ups that have happened regarding January 6th. Because if it comes down to it, the Select Committee on January 6th had a predetermined narrative. They had, before they started it all, Nancy Pelosi had already said what their final report was going to say,
Right.
and they were going to collect evidence to support it. And as we've talked on this show before, any evidence that didn't support it, or actually told a different story, they suppressed, they hid, or they deleted, and we would never recover that.
Congressman Barry Loudermilk from the great state of Georgia, thank you so much for this. I want to just reiterate one more thing. This is the quote. Anybody who wants to talk about January 6th, this is the quote, and you can get it from the House Subcommittee on
They can't hear you. It's screen
This is
screen
the quote
recording.
from Donald Trump the day before. Hey, look at this. There's going to be a large amount of protesters here on the 6th. Make sure that you have sufficient National Guard or soldiers to make sure it's a safe event. I don't care if you use Guard, soldiers, active duty soldiers. Do whatever you have to do. Just make sure it's safe. End quote. Donald Trump, January 5th. That should close the case on insurrection. That's the truth.
So no, the argument about Trump inciting an insurrection is dead in the water. Now, I would rather talk about things that are relevant, such as the current economy, how much groceries are, how much the gas is, how much I pay for electricity. Let's talk about the Federal Reserve. Let's talk about the southern border crisis. Let's talk about fentanyl. Let's talk about things that are actually relevant and actually pertain to what's been going on with this last administration, as opposed to the administration that came before it. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Also, if you don't care, like, follow, share. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.